Hello everyone, welcome back to YK Reviews. For today's video, it's going to be an in-depth spoiler review of Season 1 of Your Honor, with Season 2 coming out at the end of this week at the time of this recording. So let's get into it here. So with Your Honor, it's basically starring Bryan Cranston and Michael Stuhlbarg as the two fathers of the presiding families here. And what this show is about, it's basically Bryan Cranston's character is a judge, and after his son kills a civilian on like a hit and run type accident, Michael encourages his son to turn him over, only to find out that the person that he killed by hitting him with the car is Jimmy Baxter, Michael Stuhlbarg's character, who is like the head of the biggest crime mafia family in the city. So this basically leads the show to a lot of lies, secret and difficult choices being made throughout the show. And I've got to say right now that this is a fantastically written show, really well directed, really well choreographed. As I mentioned, Season 2 is coming out at the end of this week on the 15th of January here. So a lot of excitement and build up to this, as Season 2 is also the final season of this show. But so much to dive into, so much to delve when it comes to Season 1. So first off, right off the bat, I just got to say this right now, Bryan Cranston kills it in this role once again. You do get that Walter White vibe from him at certain aspects, which I'll be discussing here. But what I really enjoyed is that, like, in terms of the episodes are a good 50 to an hour long. There's about 10 episodes, and it goes deep diving into like each character, each plot, each storytelling here. With the opening episode, it starts off straight off the bat. You see that Bryan Cranston's character, Michael, who, as I mentioned, is a judge. You see him, how he is as a character in itself when the show first starts. You've got him doing a little jog around the city, going to visit his wife's grave, then going to like see this person who's going to be in court, trying to get like a better understanding of like the perspective of the victim, and becoming the judge to like question the police officer. So you get to see the kind of judge he is. He's like a honorable judge, wanting to find justice in everything. So you see that kind of side to him, which obviously as a series progresses, if you've seen the show, you know what happens to him as a character. But I enjoyed that you get to see that glimpse of the kind of judge he is at the very start, before all these sequences go down, because then you have this sort of like relationship between the two of them. You see the kind of father and son relationship they have, but you also see like the other side of it, because you see the two perspectives. You see Jimmy Baxter's family, you see this character Rocco, who gets himself a bike, Jimmy Baxter and the family presenting him with the bike, him going to like cycle test out the bike. So you see the sort of like two-sided relationship, two-sided perspective of the families, Michael and Adam as father and son, and then Jimmy Baxter, wife, daughter, son type relationship there. And it's definitely explored more as the show progresses when it comes to like the family relationship, the family strain that each one has with everybody in the family. But then we get to see the sequences leading up to like the big hit and run here. So you've got Adam, which is Michael's son, driving around, going and ending up in the wrong neighborhood. He's driving away, he's reaching into like the glove compartment, not focusing on the road, ending up hitting this cyclist, which we come to find out is Jimmy Baxter's son. And what I also found very interesting was the way that he died, choking on his own blood. You see Adam trying to call the police with like his inhaler too, which plays a key role in the finale of the season, when you get to see how Jimmy Baxter and his wife find out about who Adam is and like the reveal of it. But you see that key role, you see the brutality of the kill too, like as I mentioned, him choking in his own blood, not being able to like survive, not being able to get the help that he needs, so he ends up dying. Adam ends up killing him. And so that's, as we are progressing here, we see the sort of like father that Michael is. He, as I mentioned, is an honorable judge. He wants to do the right thing. So then you get to see him telling his son to own up, to go to the police, to confess, because of it was an accident, only to come to find out who the son was. And then that turn with Michael. So that's where you get the first episode of him, his side of how honorable he is, how much of a good character he is when it comes to Michael, to then seeing that turn once he finds out who the son is, the fear he has for his own son, And then that's when you see the different side of Michael. That's when you see the father side come out, where he has to do a lot of like questionable things, a lot of dirty things, the lengths he will go to protect his own son from Jimmy Baxter and his family. So you get to see that turn, but then you get to see that reveal at the end of the first episode, and then what he has to do as the season progresses here. So then once the season is progressing, once each episode is going through, you see what Michael is doing. He's got his best friend who's a politician who's trying to become the mayor. You've got Charlie. Michael is getting him to cover up everything, get rid of the car that Adam used to kill Rocco. And what's interesting as well, and how everything was written in the show, is that every single action has a consequence. So for example, like there's essentially 3 families tying in. Like you've got the Baxter family, you've got Michael and his son, and then what comes with it is Kofi Jones's family and the consequence that leads up because of Michael's actions. Because as I mentioned, Michael just goes on to this dark path of trying to do everything he can to protect his own son, even going to like the gas station to basically trace the steps of Adam's day, of like what happened, trying to come up with backstory, trying to come up with an alibi for Adam. And what was frustrating with Adam's character is that he's just so like casual about everything, so nonchalant, like not understanding the actual consequences of his actions, and Michael just being the one worrying for the both of them, which I found a weird, unique twist to the writing when it comes to Adam's character, which we'll definitely be diving into because of his actions as the season progresses too. I just found it baffling. But you've got Michael trying to cover up, trying to get rid of the car. You've got him deleting footage of Adam's steps. You've got him trying to convince people of where Adam was, visiting the grave of his mother, etc. So a lot of like things that he's going above and beyond for to cover up for his own son, getting people involved such as Charlie, which then leads to him selling the car off, him giving the car to a character named Kofi Jones. Kofi Jones is eventually arrested because the car is reported as stolen, but then he gets charged for murder because the piece of the bike falls out from under the car, which obviously Kofi Jones has no idea about. But you sort of get to see also the two sides when it comes to like Kofi Jones and also Carlo's character, Jimmy Baxter's son, the oldest son. You sort of see the two interactions with the police, which you get to see like the perspectives of these two characters and like the unique way that they are having to deal with this. So you get to see that perspective, which honestly I found a fresh take on that. It was refreshing to see that type of like writing when it comes to certain characters. But then you get to see the path that Kofi Jones has to go with because of like actions that Michael has to take to help his own son out. And so that's when we get introduced to Carlo's character. You get introduced to Jimmy Baxter's oldest son. He is in prison. He is allowed to attend his own brother's funeral, and once he goes back to prison, he's being transferred to the same prison facility as Kofi Jones, and is able to like get the guards to allow him to then go and kill Kofi Jones, because Kofi Jones ends up going to his cell and ends up getting killed by Carlos, and no questions was asked regarding that as well. But that also plays a key role in the finale and in like the episode, because as I mentioned, that third family, Kofi Jones's family, plays a key role in what happens at the end of the season. But you have Carlo getting away with it, and then you also get to see basically the sort of interactions you get when it comes to Jimmy Baxter's family, because you have his wife Gina, where you kind of see where she's sort of like the one in charge. She's sort of the one running things. She's kind of like busting his balls a lot, making sure like things are getting done, and it's because of her that Kofi Jones's family ends up getting blown up. So you've got this character who was in the first episode where Michael was trying to help out, checking out her house, making sure that justice is done for her. You end up seeing her and the kids that are in the house, except for one character, Eugene, which we'll also get into. She and the kids in the house get blown up because of Gina's actions, because of her wanting to revenge, because they solely believe that it was Kofi Jones is the one that killed their own son. So their logic is to kill him in prison, blow up the house with the kids are, because of their ruthlessness, because they're in the mafia, they're like this powerful family, and it was all Gina's influence because of this. And so as I mentioned, this is like the key aspect, the key thing that's being played in this show. You've got the three families, you've got every single action being done by each family having an effect on everybody else. Adam kills Rocco. Michael then goes to protect him, leading to Kofi Jones getting arrested, Kofi Jones getting killed, Kofi Jones' family's house getting blown up, Eugene surviving, wanting to get revenge. So this triangle of events and influences all taking a key role, which I really loved, the way everything was intertwining, connecting and playing a role within one another. I thought that was perfectly written and really well placed in the show itself. Also, what was heartbreaking too is because you see Eugene's arc, you have one of the lawyers, which is also one of the proteges of Michael's in the earlier days, Lee, taking on this case, trying to get justice, but then you have Eugene being recruited by DavisIsiah, wanting to be involved in the gang that his brother Kofi Jones was involved in, because he wants to exact that revenge on the Baxter's family here. But you also have Lee as a character trying to get justice, helping Eugene, trying to get the justice she needs for Kofi Jones, wanting to make sure that Carlo goes down for what he did. But of course, with the influences and the powerfulness of the Baxter family, as the season is progressing, as the show is progressing, they're getting more and more information of how it wasn't Kofi Jones, how, because you've got DavisIsiah getting involved with her gang, they're also trying to like find out the truth because of getting justice for Kofi Jones. You find out that Jimmy Baxter finally realizes that it wasn't Kofi Jones. Him and this character who I known him from Doctor Who when he played this painter, this very famous painter, Vince van Gogh. That's the only thing I know him from, but he also did a fantastic role. So these two are working together, like trying to do their own investigation. Come to find out that Michael is doing a lot of things to cover up a lot of evidence. Even one particular scene, which honestly I found very weird and didn't feel like it should have been part of the show, was when the dog found cloth of blood. I just felt like that was a really weird and unnecessary scene. Michael going to great lengths to try and like recover it. That was the only thing that I just found very strange, but like that's the kind of like thing that Michael is doing, as I mentioned, going to the gas station, deleting footage, going and like covering up evidence, hiding things. So Jimmy Baxter finds out about this, and so that's when Jimmy Baxter goes to go and kill Michael. But they come to see another aspect of the show, which I haven't brought up yet, is Adam and Fia's relationship, Fia being Jimmy Baxter's daughter. So this connection, them being together, basically prevents Jimmy from killing Michael. So Adam's decision to be with Jimmy Baxter's daughter basically saves Michael's life. But I love now you get to see that interaction between Jimmy and Michael, that sort of, if you want, Gus Fring versus Walter White sort of perspective, but in a much more different type of vibe to it. Because in one particular scene, you've got Michael being blackmailed by somebody who claims that they know it was Adam that killed Rocco. And so when Michael goes to like confront him, Jimmy thinks that these two are in on it. So that's where you see Michael's character, Bryan Cranston's influence, sort of like as this judge, using his Walter White type ways, because you have that part and a particular scene where Michael goes from fear to just this confidence of like how he's able to like manipulate Jimmy and how he's able to like escape death, basically, because he uses his judge's influences to like sort of help understand how to convince Jimmy to spare him by helping him with Carlo, his older son's case, as Carlo does get released but does get arrested due to drug charges and that kind of stuff, which is due to like Carlo's friend. But that will also play a key role in the finale, in the lead up to like Carlo's trial. But Michael uses his influence, saying that he can manipulate the jury, be able to like get his son scotch-free, basically. But it's just that way that he does it. Like I mentioned, he goes from like the fear factor facing Jimmy to then having that confidence, using that ability, just like how Walter White would do it in Breaking Bad. He has that same key features, which I really loved in this show with like Bryan Cranston's Michael character. It was fantastically written in terms of like how his influence is, how his confidence is, how he interacts with Jimmy, and how he's able to like use his influences, how he's able to describe what he's able to do, and how he's able to benefit from him being kept alive, which hats off to that. So obviously, as Michael is able to like go through the darker influences and darker route now, he's making sure that the judge that was in charge of the trial gets arrested for drink driving, using his like manipulation, playing a key role here. As I mentioned in the trials, he's like putting in drugs in like key witnesses, Carlo's friend who was going to testify against him, putting in drugs in the water to make sure that he doesn't say what he needs to say, pretending to write as one of the jurors there. So he's doing this very manipulative, dark, uncharacteristic, like from the first episode to this episode, with what he's doing and how he's like playing in the key role of like being this person that's helping Jimmy Baxter, helping Carlo, keeping himself alive, keeping Adam safe, the lengths he's going to. And as I mentioned, it's got definitely similar vibes to the Walter White that you see in Breaking Bad in like the later seasons, with what he's doing in this show and what he's doing with Jimmy Baxter here. And what I really enjoyed too is the interactions between Jimmy and Michael together. Their scenes were definitely a great sequence of events, definitely great written and great dialogues being portrayed between the two of them. I feel like their scenes were the best scenes in the whole show, with the way they're going back and forth with one another, the way they're like interacting with one another. Like you see the influence, you see that persona of Jimmy Baxter versus this fearful, manipulative judge character of Michael. So I definitely have to give a huge shout out to like the two actors, Bryan Cranston and Michael Stuhlbarg. Like hands down great sequences between the two of them. But then obviously as the show's building up, you've got these other characters playing a key role, like Adam's grandmother getting involved, and like these sequences between Adam and Michael as like the secrets and the lies just building up, the tension building up between them, the fighting that they're having between one another. And then you get to like Adam's character, which honestly just confused the hell out of me throughout the whole show. You have Adam's character in sort of this love triangle. So you've got him killing this kid in a hit and run. He then goes on to tell and confess his actions to his, you come to find out, his love fling, I'm not sure what you call them, but his teacher, who's having an affair with him. They're having like great time together. So he goes and confesses to her about that. He then goes and moves on and is dating and having these like outings and dates with Jimmy Baxter's daughter, Fia. So the person that he killed, he's now going out and like having dates with his sister basically. So like you have this sort of love triangle now of like one person knows what he did, the other person has no idea but is like the relative of the person he kills. And so this dynamic of this love triangle playing out throughout the season. You see like Fia and Adam getting to know one another, having this like influence with one another, having great times, opening up to like one another, only to then find out that the teacher, Franny, also like finds out about this. She finds out that these two are dating. So, but obviously as a teacher, she can't really confront him about it. So then you have this unique aspect of like, she knows the truth of what Adam did, but obviously she can't say anything when it comes to like this teacher-student relationship, but then also having to say that she can't even confront him in front of Fia because it's her own brother that got killed. So I like the concept and the unique aspect of it, but I just found like you're not really rooting for Adam because of like his nonchalance demeanor, his carefree attitude. Like he's got no remorse from what I've saw from him, and like what happens to him at the end of the episode, which we'll discuss. You feel bad, but you feel bad more for Michael rather than Adam itself. And so then as you get to like the finale, the final episode of the show, you'll come to find out that more people are finding out about Adam's actions. You've got Charlie, as I mentioned earlier, who finds out that it was Adam that actually killed him. You come to find out that the detective that knows Michael finds out that it was Adam. As I mentioned, Jimmy and Gina Baxter come to find out that it was Adam by the reveal of the inhaler. But then you get to like the big trial, you get to like the court, you see Michael's influences, you see the courtroom scenes, which again I haven't brought that up yet, but the courtroom scenes, whether it's like Carlo's trials or other trials going on, I really liked what they did with that. Like I loved the courtroom scenes, the dialogue, the story, the presentation of like evidence, and like it felt like a real courtroom drama type scenes that you were seeing, and like the show itself felt like a good courtroom type drama. What they were doing between the judge and the lawyers, between the jury and the witnesses, everything was playing a key role and definitely had that high intention, high drama type feel to it. So when you get to Carlo's trial, so the trial itself, a lot of twists, a lot of turns. I feel like the lawyer who was fighting against Carlo presented a really strong case. Basically him using the whole self-defense as an excuse of why he killed Kofi Jones, how he feared for his life, but video evidence proved otherwise. Him getting caught in his own lies, him even like swearing at this lawyer, calling her a bunch of great names, let's just say that. So you sort of presented him as like a really bad person and pretty much looking guilty, but the way Michael influences is used, the way he, like I mentioned earlier, manipulating the jury, pretending to like write for one of the jurors, does play a key role in Carlo's fate, because you even have now Lee's character, Eugene's character, wanting to like intervene, wanting to play witness, and basically Michael denying that, and then Lee coming to find out the truth about Adam killing Rocco. So a lot of things at play when it comes to this trial, and so obviously Carlo's now found not guilty somehow and is able to basically live carefree, not have the consequences of that, and so that causes a lot of like ramification and basically lets the ball rolling in terms of the consequence of this. So that basically in turn leads to a huge ripple effect of the outcome of like the end of the season. So now that Carlo is found not guilty, this leads to Eugene wanting justice for his family, going out to buying a gun. You've got Jimmy finding out that Adam is the one that killed his son, this playing mind games with Michael's character. And so then when they're having this great big party of Carlo being freed, Thea invites Adam to the party, Jimmy basically texting, which I just found very weird as to like why you're going to do that, and why Michael needs to run to like save his son when he knows that nothing's going to happen to him. But they do all of that. Michael tries to crash the party by running to the hotel, only for the guards to like stop him, distract him, leading to then Eugene entering the party with the gun, trying to shoot Carlo. Carlo misses, or basically dodges the bullet because he wants to hug this girl, and that then leads to Adam getting shot in the throat, dying by choking on his own blood, which is basically a parallel of how he killed Jimmy Baxter's son. And what was crazy about this is that even like the lines that Jimmy Baxter said and mentioned to Michael in terms of like the effects that you have as a parent after losing your own child.
You know what losing a child gives you? Terrible, visceral pain, an overwhelming sense of failure. Nothing matters. So you're capable of anything.
Goes into great details, the lines and the dialogue that is mentioned and what he says to Michael, sort of foreshadowing this, and basically having this happen to Michael now by having Adam basically die after getting shot, Eugene causing this. So that triangle of families, just one ripple effect after another, one consequence after another. Michael influencing the trial, leading to Carlo escaping, leading to Eugene going to shoot Carlo, to then leading to shooting Adam. So there's just so much at play between the three families and the consequences of everybody's actions. I just found so fascinating, and like this now ends the show with Michael holding Adam in his arms, shocked, crying, and you see the trailers, you see a lot of consequences to what happened because of that. But it's just crazy to think that every single family lost a child. Rocco due to Adam, Kofi Jones due to Adam due to Eugene and Carlo. So just so much at play here, and just like the loss of the children with each family, and like the lengths that everybody is going to, the show just has such a dark tone to it, and a great written injustice to every single like character there. Like nobody's getting the justice. Like these detectives, these lawyers having a lot of internal conflict, like a lot of decisions to make, like I mentioned, like the lies, the secrets, the deceit, leading to difficult choices here. All of this causing this just undertone of darkness, of injustice, of consequences here, and that's like the key thing to take away from this season. So overall, the show is just so fantastically written, so fantastically edited, choreographed, directed, with the undertones and the storylines and the development of every single consequence here. So it was just such a key role and a great, fantastically written show that you have such a great time with the twists, the turns, the roller coaster of emotions here, and like the decisions that everybody has to make. The one big criticism I have of this show was just the direction that they took with Adam's mother, Michael's wife, that she died, going through that route of where she was cheating on him and all of that stuff. I just feel like kind of was unnecessary, didn't really like lead up to anything, and just had like a weird telling of the side of the family, which honestly led to nothing, to be honest. But overall, the show in itself is such a fantastically written show that season 2, I think, is going to be such a strong season. And with Bryan Cranston's character, you just know he's going to outperform everybody and just do such a strong role in this character. So I am so excited for season 2. But season 1 overall was a close to flawless show, with just everything tying together and all the injustice, all the consequences, everything going with one another. I just felt like was really well tied in together. So for me, I'm definitely recommending this show. It's so fantastic. If you've seen the show, let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts, your opinions of everything that happened in the show, what your opinion is, what your thoughts are, and also your excitement level for season 2. But that about wraps it up for the in-depth spoiler review of Your Honor season 1. Like I mentioned, season 2 is coming out at the end of this week, so there's lots to be excited for, especially when it comes to this week. You've got The Last of Us and Your Honor coming out here, so let me know down in the comment section below your excitement level for that. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. And also, I have got a Twitter, link is in the description down below. Go ahead, follow me there so that you don't miss out on whenever I post. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening though. This is YK Reviews.